Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Everything for a reason. Everything for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason.
Level up, level up, level up, level up. Holla at me, better measure up. Swerving in the Lambo, rev it up. Level up, level up, level up, level up. Talking money, we can settle up. If you want me, better level up. I've been awake for a while now. Designer boutique is my style now. It's like I'm floating off the ground now. I'm on another level, Cartier on the bezel, yeah. I get the money and run, I get the money and run. You think I'm falling in love, but it's just snow on the bluff. I get it, I live it, trying to fit in my world, but it's far from basic. No, I'm not complacent. Got it so good, no, you can't replace it. Level up, level up, level up, level up. Holla at me, better measure up. Swerving in the Lambo, rev it up. Level up, level up, level up, level up. Talking money, we can settle up. If you want me, better level up. If you wanna get with me, you better level up. If you wanna get with me, you better level up. Boy, you cannot get with me if you don't measure up. If you wanna get with me, you better level up. Level up, level up, level up, level up. Holla at me, better measure up. Swerving in the Lambo, rev it up. Level up, level up, level up, level up. Talking money, we can settle up. If you want me, better level up. Level up, level up, level up, level up. Holla at me, better measure up. Swerving in the Lambo, rev it up. Level up, level up, level up, level up. Talking money, we can settle up. If you want me, better level up.
I got dragon blood, what you wanna do, son? I got dragon blood, what you wanna do? I got dragon blood, what you wanna do, son? Cause I'm always going hard with my Dothraki crew. Daenerys be the name, and I'm setting hearts aflame when I'm burning down these villages and freeing all the slaves. Wiz Khaleesi, have you bit my dragons? My brother tried to sell me to Khal Drogo, look what happened. A bit hot-headed with that molten golden crown. I stopped the Khalasar, so don't be messing with me now. Look my lover in the eye, winter's coming, so am I. I burned the witch alive who took my son and husband's lives. But I survived so frisky, now these dragons have my back. Suitors are so frisky and they always try to mac. Zara, Zoe, and Daxos had to lock him in a vault. Made my way to Slaver's Bay, but it was not my fault. It was karmic retribution. There was no preparing them when Krasus tried to mess with the wrong Targaryen. Outsmarted him like Tyrion when I knew how Valyrian. These creatures on my shoulders, well, I think you should be fearing them. You are now watching the throne. I got dragon blood, what you wanna do, son? I got dragon blood, what you wanna do? I got dragon blood, what you wanna do, son? Cause I'm always going hard with my Dothraki crew. I got dragon blood, what you wanna do, son? I got dragon blood, what you wanna do? I got dragon blood, what you wanna do, son? Cause I'm always going hard with my Dothraki crew. Dothraki, unsullied behind me, like I'm Illuminati. It's the mother of dragons with my gigantic army. We be marching to Marine, but no, we didn't come to party. Cause they crucified the slaves and put them on the cross. Sir Jorah, please get lost. I know you think I'm hot. My schedule's kinda busy, got no time for Perrier. White girl politicking, that's Daenerys Palin. From Dorne to the Stormlands, the north and beyond, to the Westlands and Essos, I'm keeping it strong. From the Crownlands to the Reach, you know I'm getting love. To the Riverlands and back because I've got that dragon blood. So follow, more clueless, I thought that you knew this, but dragons aren't people, you know we've been through this. I'm quick to burn a hater, no mercy, danger, smacking kings in the face like my name was Cersei Lannister. Burn, burn, you should gonna burn. 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 I got dragon blood, what you wanna do, son? I got dragon blood, what you wanna do? I got dragon blood, what you wanna do, son? Cause I'm always going hard with my Dothraki crew. I got dragon blood, what you wanna do, son? I got dragon blood, what you wanna do? I got dragon blood, what you wanna do, son? Cause I'm always going hard with my Dothraki crew. I got dragon blood, you should gonna burn. I got dragon blood, you should gonna burn. I got dragon blood, you should gonna burn. Cause I'm always going hard with my Dothraki crew. I got dragon blood, you should gonna burn. I got dragon blood, you should gonna burn. I got dragon blood, you should gonna burn. Cause I'm always going hard with my Dothraki crew. I got dragon blood, you should gonna burn. I got dragon blood, you should gonna burn. Cause I'm always going hard with my Dothraki crew. I got dragon blood, you should gonna burn. I got dragon blood, you should gonna burn. Cause I'm always going hard with my Dothraki crew. I got dragon blood, you should gonna burn. I got dragon blood, you should gonna burn. Cause I'm always going hard with my Dothraki crew.
was around for grown-ups, and the bonus prize is getting in shape and showing up. Steady on my grind till I send my name, cause I can only move forward like a ninja game. We going in, so don't you miss this. I'm running through this training like Ultra Instinct. They're all might, I take flight, going plus ultra, no stops here, no brake lights. A Shenlong swelling up like a snake bite, gaining mass like a new fish man to great white. From city to city, stepping into a new challenge. All the ninjas that I meet are supporting with no malice. All sweat, no tears. We get cut, yeah, no shears. Some on my mind over matter. A machine clank clank when I'm going up the ladder. Ninja, ninja, rap, ninja, ninja, rap. Take a few spills while you're relevant your skills. Ain't for the fame, it's for the thrills. Go ninja, go ninja, go. You never know where you go. What obstacle is waiting on you, so you gotta stay super like pseudo. We go hard, no, I can't skip. Keep it going all day until my hands rip. And if I lose, I don't panic. I just up the weights like a space trip dynamic. It's organic the way it happened, the exact same way that I started rapping. Was just fun, but we still laughing. And the journey's even better than what I imagined. It's all joy, no hassle. I keep going back like Mario to Bowser's Castle. Cause at the end, I'm still nerdcore. Is that phrase even a term you heard or? Nah, bring it back, cause this a ninja rap. Put your hands in the air with my real ninjas at. Yeah, some on my mind over matter. A machine clank clank when I'm going up the ladder. Ninja, ninja, rap, ninja, ninja, rap. Take a few spills while you're relevant your skills. Ain't for the fame, it's for the thrills. Go ninja, go ninja, go.
Even though the art of the ninja is far more sophisticated than just martial arts, students start with simple climbing techniques and handling standard weapons. The ninja also develop ninjutsu, the art of the ninja.
Some on my mind over matter. A machine clank clank when I'm going up the ladder. Ninja, ninja, rap, ninja, ninja, rap. Take a few spills while you elevate your skills. Ain't for the fame, it's for the thrills. Go ninja, go ninja, go, 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 go. Ninja, ninja, rap, ninja.
Welcome to another episode, whatnot, Blackbird 1619. What are we doing today?
Talking about white people.
Again today, I'm Megan. We've got Micah with us, Joe, and Elizabeth. Everybody's here today. Micah, if you've got your housekeeping rules you want to hit real quick.
Yeah, so we're streaming on YouTube today. If you want to join and comment, Batman will be watching the comments and will let us know what your questions are. There's a Facebook group that Megan moderates. There's a link to that in the thing below. You can jump on there and say hello to her, or comments or questions, or if you have a suggestion for a topic, which would be awesome. Not that we're running out of ideas. There's so much. So much.
But if there's something you specifically want us to talk about, that'd be great.
We found a butt ton of articles for this one this week. So they're separated sort of into sections that we're talking about. So that's all in the description too. There's some really good stuff in there. You should check it out. And then, so the next time we're talking, we're going to talk about healthcare, privilege and healthcare. So it's going to be November 10th, which is a Tuesday. And it's like 2 weeks from now, I think.
We're taking next week off because it's elections, and we all know that we're going to be watching that. And so we'll leave everyone space to do that. I will probably get on my Facebook and be crazy. So look out for that. All right. So if this is your first time joining us, this is how Blackbird got started. I opened up my Facebook for questions and comments about race, and I thought it would be a good idea to have a safe place where we could do that, and we could all learn more and talk about different subjects and what it means to be Black in America. And that's how we got started doing Blackbird. Now, today we are talking about privilege. specifically white privilege, but we're going to start because that's a huge subject and there's a lot to unpack there. Excuse me. So today we're sort of going to like general overview about privilege. So we're going to talk about what privilege is basically, and then what specifically white privilege is, and then we're going to hit some topics on how those things manifest themselves. And then we'll tell some stories about our experiences, either dealing with white privilege or dealing with any sort of privilege or how it's affected us personally. And of course, we'll answer your questions if you have any while we're talking. Hopefully you do. It'd be great. So that's what we're going to do. So with that, I'm starting with definitions.
Yeah, we want to take a minute and define white privilege. And I think like both Joe and I have ideas or thoughts.
Ooh.
Elizabeth. Joe and I got really excited.
Okay, so I will read the Merriam-Webster's definition. So privilege refers to a special advantage or right possessed by an individual or group. A privilege is a right or advantage gained by birth, social position, effort, or concession. And then white privilege is inherited advantage possessed by a white person on the basis of their race in a society characterized by racial inequality and injustice. So those are the definitions for what privilege is and what white privilege is specifically, according to Merriam-Webster. So let's go. What you got, Micah?
So when I was researching stuff, I ran into an article called White Privilege, Unpacking the Invisible Knapsack, written by this woman, Peggy McIntosh, in 1989. Joe, like 88. And she's a white woman. But she was teaching a class about feminism, and she was like, why do the dudes that come to this class don't realize their privilege? And then she said, hold up, I'm probably doing the same thing. So she sat down and she tried to pick out things in her life that were afforded to her because she was white that she didn't think about. So she defined it as having an invisible knapsack. White privilege is like an invisible, weightless knapsack with special provisions, maps, passports, code books, visas, clothes, tools, and blank checks that you can cash in and use at anywhere and not really realize that it's kind of a weird analogy, but she did 50 things, right? So I picked out a couple. I can, if I wish, arrange to be in the company of people of my race most of the time. I can turn on the television or open to the front page of the paper and see people of my race widely represented. I do not have to educate my children to be aware of systemic racism for their own daily physical protection. I am never asked to speak for all the people of my racial group. If I declare there's a racial issue at hand or that there isn't a racial issue at hand, my race will lend me more credibility for either position than a person of color will have. So I think it's really cool that she sat down and thought about this. And she's also pointing out that when you use the word privilege, people think of the 1%, right? And they're not thinking about just because they're white, they're afforded things that aren't afforded to other people, and things that are sort of invisible that you don't even think about. Yeah, so that was what I got into.
No, that's absolutely awesome, and just kind of piggybacking on that. In the article that I read, it's from tolerance.org. What is white privilege really? And I'm just going to read it, quoting Francis E. Kendall, author of Diversity in the Classroom and Understanding White Privilege, Creating Pathways to Authentic Relationships Across Race. And he categorizes it as having greater access to power and resources than people of color in the same situation do. With regard to that, basically buying a house, even to this day, people of color, Latinos would be subjected to higher interest rates and mortgages than equal equal standing white counterparts. If you remember in 2008 when the mortgage bubble bust, a lot of minority people were getting the subprime mortgage loans or whatever, which is, you know, they were able to afford houses way beyond their economic ability to pay, and the whole thing bust. And then you got all these different things, and it put, you know, I guess it was good as it allowed people to get into neighborhoods that they never thought they would get into, but at the same time, they knew by loaning that money that they would be on the hook for it the whole time of the loan, and that they weren't going to be able to pay off the loan in the long run anyway. It was a kind of a catch-22. And anyway, just going off of that, that's kind of white privilege in that regard, you know, and it's gone back to the systemic ability to be able to do this over the course of time. So even though now we're more aware of it and speaking on it, it's still going to perpetuate itself. It's kind of like a cycle of its own making, if you will. And that's going to be hard to undo, even in the present awareness of the society that we have right now. I think people want to support it vocally, but when it comes down to actually putting in action for the policies to be changed, that's where your vocal support and your action support differ. Not you per se, but just the consensus of the white populace who's like, oh, that's wrong, and these, you know, obvious disparities should be changed. But when you actually have the ability to change it, not a lot of people are stepping up to actually change it. And that's another part of that white privilege that hopefully will help at least bring more light upon, and maybe we can change some minds and get some action.
I think that's the sort of dangerous thing about white privilege is like some of it's you don't see until someone points it out to you. Like we're going to get into like personal stories later, but I think it is, if you have a firsthand experience of like, oh shit, like that really brings it to the forefront, because some white stuff is really easy to almost ignore, to be like, no, they're not treating me differently, like that guy was just in a good mood and he yelled at Megan because he was in a bad mood or whatever, you know.
Definitely. Sorry, I had to handle a child. So Elizabeth, did you have anything that you wanted to add as far as our definition goes and what we're sort of jumping into here with privilege today?
I don't think so, because I think we kind of covered like when we like had talked about this like among ourselves earlier was like, yes, like what I see it as like the ways that white people don't even realize they're at an advantage because like it doesn't occur to them that life happens to people who aren't white differently. But I think y'all kind of have already been over that. Like that's all I got.
That's a really good point though, is realizing that your experience doesn't mirror everyone else's, you know, and just because there's this idea, especially in America, that the white experience is the normal experience and it's the experience everyone's trying for. And so realizing that like you don't go through life the same way is really, really important.
Yeah. When I was researching, it doesn't relate specifically to my subject. And I think what it is actually is like a breakdown of another article. I just found it today, so I didn't really have time to go into it, but it is called Framed. Nope. Well, anyway, it's about white framing, which I think is like kind of goes more into detail about how like white becomes the norm because it's framed, like everything is framed from a white perspective. So I will probably link that at a later date because I thought it was really good and it made a lot of sense in this context. But yeah,
so many things.
Just to tack that on the end.
Okay, so then let's. All right, so I guess I'm going to go first. Yes, that's what we decided. Okay. So we thought we would, because we realized there are different people in the world. I am a numbers person. Like when I read statistics and I look at numbers, I am able to draw conclusions and see that way better. So we thought we would start there with numbers and statistics. And then, because not everybody learns the same way, then we'll talk about all of these things again with our personal stories so that you can sort of see how the numbers link up to real life. And maybe that will help cement what we're talking about for you. Or maybe they'll make you have more questions and then you can ask us and we can talk about it. So I was particularly interested in sort of like a general family dynamic. Like, how does white privilege and privilege in general affect families? So I looked at some general statistics. So I know we talk about here in America a lot that like single parent families are on the rise. So there are more single mothers, there are more single fathers in America than there used to be. But overwhelmingly, those numbers are people of color, Hispanics and whites, raising children on their own. And so there was a couple of really interesting articles. This one was kind of hard because I had to read articles and then look at numbers for myself and then go back and see, like, it's where like sociology and psychology meet up with numbers. It's sort of how this one works. So it's hard to delve into. That's why people with degrees do it and not. But I'm doing my best. So, and I found most of my statistics I got from the Census Bureau. So these are, you can go to the Census Bureau and you can type in, single parents by race. You can type in, you can type in any question in the Census Bureau website and it will give you all the numbers. So here's something, I guess this is how it relates and how it is interesting. So in 2019, the percentage of Blacks in poverty was 1.8 times greater than their share among the general populace. What that means is that Black people represent 13% of the entire population, but they represent 23% of the poverty population.
Whoa, wait, say that again. Say the numbers again.
So Black Americans, Blacks represent 13% of the total population. So out of 100, 13 people, right? That's how many Blacks there are in America, if we're going to simplify numbers, right? There's 100 people in a room, 13 of those people are Black. But if there are 100 people in a room, and you're talking about poverty, so there's 100 people in a room, 23 of those people in the poverty room would be Black. So, and I thought that was a really interesting number, very high number. and say we'll talk about, so also, the statistics are not that much better for Hispanics. So Hispanics comprise 18% of the total population and 28% of the poverty population. So, and then when you talk about whites in America, so whites make up 59% of the total population, but only 41% of the population in poverty. And I know that you're like, well, 41 is a huge number. It's not a huge number when you're talking about half of America. So, let's say 60%. You're talking about 60% of America only makes up 41% of the poverty population, whereas 13% of America makes up 23% of the poverty population. I know numbers are hard for people. It works for me. I get it, but think about it that way. Okay. So I took these numbers and then I went and I looked at things like things that affect Black Americans. So, and Joe's going to talk about incarceration. So, the population of single parent families in America, particularly women, is 47. So 40%, sorry. So nearly half of the Black children in America live with just their mother.
Oh.
So I'm saying 13%, right? 13% of Black people make up America. 28% of that are living in poverty. And half of that 13% are single mothers.
Whoa.
So when you take all those numbers together, you can see the disadvantage, right? So not only are you poor, you only have one source of income, that puts you at a disadvantage to some, like, even among the Black population, like married couples do better. And there are a lot of articles you can read all over the internet about how, single parent families put more stress on children. And so there was another number. That's more education. Never mind. So that was what I was looking at, and that's what I was finding very interesting. So if you think about you're starting a race, right? And I think Micah might have put that link in our thing or not, or if you have never seen it, it's all over YouTube. Do just like a little bit of research, people. So if you're talking about a race, right? Everyone's starting at the starting line, and the first thing is, do you have two parents? And half of America moves forward, and half of America does. 13% of America doesn't. So that's just the first hurdle. When you're talking about, that's something you as a child have no control over. So you're born into poverty, and you're born with a single mother, and then it's trickle down. So it affects whether or not you're going to graduate from high school. It affects, and like, if you don't graduate from high school, that affects on what kind of job you can get, and so it just keeps going. So that's what I found out, and like I said, it's a huge subject, and we'll unpack more of this later. That's why we're going to do more episodes on these specific subjects, because there's a lot to unpack in each one of these. But so that's just that's where I started, because that's what I found the most interesting, because I was a single parent for a while. And definitely not making enough money to support me and my kid. And you have to think about, not everybody has a support system. I was lucky enough to live with my parents, but there are a lot of people who aren't. And that is a disadvantage. So that's where I started. Those are the things that I found out, and like the things that I thought the most striking numbers when you think about them. So that's what I got. Any questions, comments? Anybody?
I think it's important to also, like, the sort of